Hi, I'm Deborah Jack, and this is the Director's Update for May 2018. This is the first time we've actually recorded the Director's Update alongside sending it out in a written format. So if you're watching this, I'd really welcome your feedback. In particular, we'd be interested to know whether you think this is something we should do more often when we send out information to beneficiaries. There have been a number of staff changes since my last update, and there are more to come. In January, Keith Everest started in the role of part-time finance assistant. He settled really quickly into the role and processed a really large volume of payments in April when the annual grants went out. He really was very much in at the deep end here. We also recruited Dr. Susan Brennan as our second part-time medical advisor to work alongside Dee in responding to the growing number of requests for health-related information, advice and support. Susan joined us just after Easter, and I know she's spoken to many of you. As well as advising and supporting individuals on health issues, Susan will also be producing new health-related information and also developing our network of external specialists. As many of you will be aware, Emily is pregnant. She's actually expecting twins. So we've recently gone through the recruitment process for maternity cover for her role. We had a really good field of candidates applying, and we're delighted that Sally Sheehan has accepted the job and is hoping to start with us in the middle of June. And on the subject of maternity leave, Lucy Cummings will be returning from her maternity leave at the beginning of June. And she's chosen to return on a part-time basis, working 16.5 hours a week. Charlotte McCauley did an excellent job of providing maternity cover while Lucy was on maternity leave, and we're delighted that we're able to keep her on. Charlotte will be sharing the role of admin officer with Lucy, but she will also be doing additional work in terms of updating and developing our website and also providing support for the growing number of trust events. Finally, I have to share the sad news that Jenny Tunbridge has decided to move on to pastures new after 5 years working at the Trust, and she'll be leaving us at the end of June. This was her first finance director role, and she's really keen to build on her experience at the Trust so she can take the next step in her career. Her new role is as finance director of a hospice in Cambridge, and there she'll get fundraising experience, which is something she hasn't had before. We'll really miss Jenny, and we wish her really well in her new role. I'm really pleased that you elected both Roland Bareham and Nick Dobrick to act as your representatives for another term on the NAC. Following the recent internal NAC elections, Roland will be continuing in his role as chair, and I'd like to congratulate Mikey Argy on being elected as the deputy chair of the NAC. As you'll be aware, although Glenn Harrison was elected as the third NAC member, he made the decision to stand down before formally taking up the role. We're therefore currently carrying out a ballot for the final NAC member. The ballot papers need to be received by 5 o'clock on the 9th of May. So if you haven't voted, we'd really encourage you to do so. We really want you to have your say. We haven't accepted any new beneficiaries since my last update, but sadly, 2 beneficiaries, John Whitmore and Mark Jazeski, both passed away during April. This brings the total number of beneficiaries now to 465. We held our second beneficiary open day in St Neots on the 13th of March, and the day went really well. The event was attended by 15 beneficiaries, 11 family members and friends, and 1 dog. And all the feedback we've had from beneficiaries who attended has been really positive. It seems that everyone really enjoyed the relaxed atmosphere and the informal format of the day. Our very first Future Money Matters event is due to take place in Birmingham on the 10th of May. We've got a really varied agenda, and it covers topics like savings and investments, making a will and appointing a lasting power of attorney, retirement planning and VAT. We've got 27 beneficiaries booked on the day, and all 3 members of the finance team will be there, as well as Phil Williams, who will be representing the NAC. We also have another local event taking place in Belfast on Wednesday the 4th of July. In response to feedback from beneficiaries in Northern Ireland, the day is going to include sessions on living well, so that's health, diet and fitness, financial planning, and also the recent changes and future plans for the Trust. Booking forms will be sent out to beneficiaries who live in Ireland very soon. But if you don't live in Ireland and you're interested in attending, just email us on hello@thalidomidtrust.org or give us a call and we can send you a form to complete. We're also planning a similar event which will take place in Bristol sometime in October. Further information will be sent out and will also be on the website, so do check that out. We're delighted to announce a new research partnership with the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital. The research study is designed to understand how accurate blood pressure measured in the leg is, and will also look at what constitutes normal blood pressure for someone with thalidomide damage. We know that many of you have difficulty having your blood pressure taken, especially those of you with short or no arms. This is a concern because the risk of developing cardiovascular disease increases as you age. So accurately measuring your blood pressure is a key part of understanding your risk of developing this disease and possibly having a heart attack or stroke. Some of you currently have your blood pressure taken in your leg, but we don't currently know how accurate those readings are. This means that we can't be sure that this way of taking blood pressure is reliable in understanding your risk of cardiovascular disease. This study will be running for around 2 years, and it's really important that as many of you as possible take part. It will compare your blood pressure in your artery, which is the most accurate way of measuring blood pressure, with the blood pressure in your leg. But to take part in the study, you have to be having surgery because your arterial blood pressure is only measured when you're under anaesthetic. Please contact the Trust and let us know if you're interested in taking part in the study and have surgery planned in the future. You can speak to us or look for further information on the website. There are 3 other research projects that we'll be taking forward in the next 12 months. The first is a study to look at the use of prosthetics, including the current prosthetic services available and the issues and challenges faced by those of you who use prosthetics. The second is a joint project with the University of York, and this one will focus on emotional well-being. The plan is to take an established programme of support for people with depression and adapt it to take into account the issues faced by thalidomiders, but also to introduce a model of peer support. And finally, we're going to start a major project led by the NAC, which will be looking at identifying and quantifying future care costs for beneficiaries. As you may be aware, new legal rules come into force in the next month. The General Data Protection Regulations, or GDPR as they're known, are designed to improve the security of information that anybody holds about you. In order to comply with the new legislation, we are having to make a number of changes, including having to introduce passwords for documents when we send you sensitive personal information about your health or your money. Jenny has been working with Roland and Phil from the NAC and will be updating our data protection policy and our processes. We'll also be writing to you very soon to explain what information we hold about you and why we hold it. And we'll also be asking you what information you'd like to receive from the Trust going forward. Annual grants were allocated as usual on the 6th of April, and most of you have now drawn down your money in full or have arranged for regular payments to be made to you. As you've previously been advised, this year your health grant will be sent out on the 1st of June. In the next week, we'll be sending out your health grant request forms and also your health grant declaration forms, which you need to sign and return to us so that we can make the payments to you. This change in the allocation date has been made at the request of the Department of Health. The trustees recently reviewed the fees payable on major advances and emergency advances made to beneficiaries, and they agreed that this should stay at the level of £40 for every £1,000 advanced. In addition, in response to an increase in inquiries from beneficiaries, we've also introduced a new policy for short-term advances. So that's when you need money just for a short period. For example, if you're moving house and you need to make adaptations to your new house before you can move. The level of fees for those advances will be slightly higher at £60 per £1,000 advanced. If you want to find out more about advances, please contact Jeff by email or by calling the Trust. We're continuing to roll out the HNA programme, and we've now conducted almost 200 HNAs. The feedback from people who've had HNAs has been really positive, and 97% of you have said that you'd recommend an HNA to another beneficiary. As a result of these HNAs, we've now increased the level and type of support that we're providing to individual beneficiaries. The HNAs also are beginning to build a really good picture of the needs of beneficiaries, the issues they're facing and their concerns about the future. And this information is really important for our discussions with the Department of Health and Diageo, as they enable us to be able to demonstrate how important the funding they provide is to beneficiaries and why it's so important that this continues. We hope to have completed an HNA for every beneficiary who lives in the UK by December 2020. So if you haven't already had one, you should expect to hear from one of the team in the next 18 months to arrange this. Once we've completed the programme of HNAs in the UK, we're going to develop a similar process for those beneficiaries who live overseas. On the advice of our lawyers, we recently restructured the trust so it now operates as a trustee company. Under the new arrangements, we remain a registered charity with the same remit, and there's very little change in practice. However, what it means is that liability for any contracts the trust enters into sits with the trust as a legal entity and not with individual trustees, as previously was the case. These changes came into effect on the 31st of January this year. Although all the individuals who served as trustees before that date have now become directors of the new trustee company, their role will remain unchanged and we'll continue to refer to them as trustees. We hope that these changes will help us to continue to attract excellent trustees to oversee the work of the trust. If you have any questions about this change, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me and I'll be happy to answer them. For those of you who prefer the traditional footplate steering adaptation, Motability has now recognised that this is a unique and high-cost adaptation. There is only one garage in the UK, Jim Doran Hand Controls, offering this type of foot steering adaptation, and Motability is now able to offer a discounted rate for this particular type of foot steering to beneficiaries who are part of the Motability scheme. Therefore, anyone fitting traditional foot steering to their Motability vehicle at the start of their contract will receive £1,500 discount from Motability. If you have any questions about this change, just get in contact with one of the Health and Wellbeing team. I'm pleased to report that we've succeeded in getting the benefit disregard extended to council tax reductions, which are also sometimes known as council tax support, in England, Scotland and Wales, and rate relief in Northern Ireland. What this means is that if your household income, excluding your trust grants, is low, you may be entitled to a reduction in your council tax or your rates. This is because your trust grants will be disregarded when they assess both your income and your savings. If you want to find out more about this, you can speak to a member of the Health and Wellbeing team. And if you've made it to the end, I hope you found this update useful, and please do let us know what you think. Thank you.